Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Reptile Room. My name is Eric, and today we're taking a look at some leopard geckos. This here is Murphy. He's what we call a Murphy's patternless. This is a recessive morph, and one of the many that are available in leopard geckos in the hobby. Of course, in the wild, they don't look like this. We'll see a more wild-type looking leopard gecko in a second here, as they wouldn't blend in very well, so natural selection tends to pick them off if these morph geckos show up in the wild. Now these guys are most notably Asian and Middle Eastern geckos, more specifically northern India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Iran are where the range of these guys is the most concentrated. And they generally stick to more arid, mountainous, desert environments. That said, they will stray out of this territory. This is what a more wild leopard gecko would look like. A little bit more of that mottled coloration. They will stray out of these areas into small forested coves, and of course they're quite fond of grasslands. Deserts, of course, aren't necessarily just all sand dunes. There's a lot of life in them as well, these guys included. And now they do like it a little bit warmer, not as hot as some of your daytime dwelling geckos, as these guys are what we call crepuscular. So they're most active at dawn and dusk, where temperatures are a little bit lower. So in captivity, we keep them in a thermal gradient of no lower than 75 Fahrenheit on the ambient cold side, essentially, of the enclosure, and a basking spot in their enclosure on the other side of about 90 degrees Fahrenheit is essential for them to do well. Being ectothermic, they need this thermal gradient in order to digest and break down foods correctly. As warm-blooded animals, we humans eat a lot of food, but we also heat our own bodies, which helps us metabolize and break down those foods, whereas these guys need to get that from their environment by being able to move around in it. Of course, you can supply heat using a underbelly heat pad, or over-the-top halogen light, or a ceramic heat emitter, or a deep heat projector. All these options will work. You'll just want to make sure that whatever you use, you're regulating it with a thermostat so it doesn't get too hot, because they can be prone to burning as well. Now, supplementary lighting can be beneficial for these guys, UVB, that would be. You just want to be mindful that you're not using too intense a UVB light, as that can be overwhelming for them, so you'd want to stick with something along the lines of a shade dweller, lower percentage UVB. Or you can potentially use no UVB at all, and offer them calcium or multivitamins with a D3 additive. Now these geckos, the eyelid geckos, are defined by having eyelids. They also have these big fat tails on them, and this acts like a reserve, like a camel's humps, to store extra nutrients in case they have to go a long time without food in the wild. They lack the characteristic toe pads that many geckos have that allow them to stick to surfaces. They just have little claws instead, since they're more terrestrial, closer to the ground, under the ground a little bit when the humidity is a little higher. So they don't need those toe pads for climbing. Now, geckos are defined by having vocal cords, so they don't have a voice like you and I, but whereas many reptiles can huff or hiss, these guys can actually chirp and squeak as well. When they hatch out, I'll insert a little clip here. They can be quite intimidating in their own minds anyways.
Yeah. You don't say.
In captivity, we offer them a large variety. Things such as mealworms and superworms can work as a base, but we like to mix it up and give them lots of variety. So butterworms, waxworms, silkworms, hornworms, crickets. All of these are decent alternatives. Calciworms are actually really good as well, also known as black soldier fly larvae or phoenix worms. And now these geckos do make fantastic little pets. These guys here just hatched out this morning. There we go, I'm just checking on that guy. He's just having a little snooze there. Now this is Tate. He's not a leopard gecko. He's actually what we call an African fat-tail gecko. That's a little stubbier face, different range. Africa, of course. Now you can see his tail looks a little different. That's because he dropped it at one point before he came to us, and that's sort of how it regenerates. So any one of those grooves you see along the tail, they're called fracture planes. They can pop that tail right off to escape from predators. So definitely something to be mindful of. Anyways, thank you, Tate, and thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe, and have a great day, everyone.